Hey, what's happening, guys? Chris VA Travels down here in Richmond at the SHOCKOE Hill Cemetery. Yeah, burial site of many famous Virginians. Members of Edgar Allen Poe's family are buried here. Plenty of governors, senators, Revolutionary War heroes, Civil War generals. Also the burial site of Supreme Court Chief Justice John Marshall. Yeah, so a lot to see. And want to give a shout out to Katrina, new Patreon subscriber. Appreciate your support. Wow, okay. Yeah, this graveyard covers it all. Revolutionary War, War of 1812, Mexican-American War, Civil War, and Nathaniel Puckett, Goodies Company, 1st Virginia Regiment, and he survived the war. And then back here, plaque, SHOCKOE Hill Cemetery, City of Richmond opened SHOCKOE Hill Cemetery on 4 acres back, 1822, when the burial grounds of St. John's Church approached its capacity. All right, by 1871, SHOCKOE Hill Cemetery had reached its current size of 12.7 acres. Yeah, John Marshall buried here. Okay, so we've got Peter Francisco over here. That's great. They've got these things kind of marked off, little arrows to help you out. And that's a great idea. More cemeteries should do that. Graveyard used to be called the New Burying Ground or the SHOCKOE Hill Burying Ground. And it's the first municipal cemetery in the city. The first to be opened and operated using detailed record keeping. Yeah, so pretty old. But anyway, let me find Peter Francisco. Oh, John Allen. That's the foster father of Edgar Allen Poe. Oh, yeah, here he is right here. John Allen. Okay, cool. You can hear the train in the background. But yeah, Scottish born. He was a wealthy tobacco merchant. Famously, he and Edgar did not get along and died in his 54th year. And he owned the mansion in town called Moldavia. His second wife right here, Miss Louisa G. Allen. Both have the urns up on top. And it looks like John Allen Jr. looks like he served. Oh, died at Gettysburg. Let me look him up. Looked him up, no detailed information, just says he died at Gettysburg, Fairfield to be exact. Another one of his sons right here, William Galt Allen, survived the war but didn't live a very long life. Oh, here he is back here, Peter Francisco, Revolutionary War hero. All right, Revolutionary War soldier Peter Francisco died 1831. Plaque put up by the American Daughters of the Revolution. Shout out to my Aunt Nancy, who's a member. All right, take a look at this thing. Nice headstone right here, American flags all around. Again, we've got the urn on top and nice plaque on the front here. Yeah, let me tell you about Peter, and there's a lot of legends surrounding him. And he's of Portuguese descent. And story goes that he was found abandoned at the age of 5 at the docks near Hopewell, Virginia. And he was raised as an indentured servant. He stood 6'6", nicknamed the Virginia Giant, also the Hercules of the Revolution. And the famous story of him goes that down at the Battle of Camden, down there in South Carolina, the Americans had left a valuable cannon stuck in the mud. He picked it up, put it on his shoulders, and carried it away to keep it out of the hands of the British. Yeah, and there were many children's books written about him back in the 1800s. So yeah, definitely a legend of the American Revolution. Back here, Elizabeth Wills. I'll just let you know this was one of John Allen's mistresses. And they think maybe he was dating her, I guess, between his 2 wives. So maybe you just call her a girlfriend, but I just wanted to point that out. And it looks like this obelisk is falling off its block. Okay, back here, Powhatan Ellis. And born out there in Amherst County, Virginia, back in 1790. And it was pretty common back then for people to take the names of Native American chiefs. William Tecumseh Sherman comes to mind. Died here during the Civil War. He would have been 73 though, so. All right, now see this medal for the War of 1812. Let me look that up. Is that a Navy thing at the bottom? Yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe the 1812 medal is for the person to the right. Francis docks, maybe? Yeah, I'm on his Wikipedia. I'm not seeing anything, but I'll tell you, he graduated from what is now Washington and Lee University. Practiced law out there in Mississippi while it was still a territory. But yeah, that's it for Powhatan Ellis. And right in front of him, I can only assume this is his son, Powhatan Ellis Jr. It doesn't have his children listed on Find a Grave, which is kind of odd, but it looks like he was a major for the Confederacy. Over here, Elizabeth Van Lew, and she was a Union spy, 1818 until 1900. All right, so at the bottom it says, this boulder from the Capitol Hill in Boston is a tribute from her Massachusetts friends. Oh, and people have left little stones on the side. All right, so he was born here in Richmond, educated up there in Philadelphia. Nicknamed Crazy Bet. She was regarded as a silly, hysterical woman, never married, and she would often write letters to officers giving them valuable information about the Confederacy. She was close with Ulysses S. Grant. They said that flowers they would see in her garden would often later appear on his dining table. After the war, he appointed her Postmistress General. All right, and then she also helped prisoners escape from Libby Prison. Here's a big name here in Richmond, Dooley, John Dooley, and his son is the one that built Maymont, a big Victorian mansion here in Richmond, and also built Swannanoa out there in the Blue Ridge near Waynesboro. But native of Ireland, as you see, and a major of the 1st Virginia Regiment of Infantry, and died February of 1868. Made it to 57 years old. He was a prosperous hat maker and established the Great Southern Hat and Cap Manufactory, and it was the largest hat manufacturing business in the South. All right, and he was a commander of the Montgomery Guard, Virginia militia company, comprised largely of Virginians of Irish origin. Okay. And, okay, yeah, Catholic. And right here would be his wife, Sarah. All right, yeah, you see the cross on the face, and yeah, another on the top. And it's weird, it looks like it says George right here, but if you go to Find a Grave, it shows this obelisk. So yeah, it would be his wife, Sarah. And down here, their daughter, Alice, who, whenever you see a lamb, you know it's a child who died young, born and died 1844. All right, so we've got the grave of Dr. Charles Bell Gibson. He was a leading physician of his time, a pioneer of surgical practice in Virginia, the son of a prominent surgeon, that would be William Gibson, and graduated from the University of Pennsylvania. He didn't die fighting during the Civil War. Obviously, Robert E. Lee had surrendered a couple weeks prior, but died of exhaustion and pneumonia. It died because of heart trouble. Right next door, we've got Sergeant Major John T. Cunningham. Died 1862, and he was injured during the Battle of Gaines' Mill, succumbed to his injuries, later died at a military hospital in Richmond. And down here, looks like maybe we've got the original headstone right there. Oh, neat, grave of a Revolutionary War soldier. John Potts, Corporal, 7th Virginia Regiment. Wow, died in 1830. Another one over here, all right. Robert Greenhoe, Nicholson's Company, Virginia Militia. Wow, he died in 1840. All right, so now we've got the War of 1812. Joseph Vigilini, 19th Virginia Militia. Guess they don't know when he was born, maybe. Next to this kind of table ledger style grave, we've got Sarah Elmira Royston Shelton. And this was Edgar Allen Poe's first love. First and last love. He ended up getting engaged with her and met back up with her later in life. But he died up there in Baltimore before they got married. And yeah, they were dating. He went off to the University of Virginia. She comes from a prominent family, and his father didn't approve of Edgar. So when Edgar would write her letters, he would intercept and throw them away. So yeah, unfortunately they broke up. And they say she was most likely the inspiration in a lot of his writings. She was a child and I was a child in this kingdom by the sea, but we loved with a love that was more than love. This one down here kind of stood out, and kind of plaque on the ground. Well, not a plaque, but just a flat headstone. William Parks Crutchfield, Private Company B, 1st Battalion, Virginia Infantry. Survived the war. Right here we've got John Minor Botts, and he was a United States congressman and Southern Unionist. Both of his parents died in the Virginia Theater Fire, 1811. You see, he died 1869. He was under all circumstances an inflexible friend of the American Union. I know no north, no south, no east, no west. I only know my country, my whole country, and nothing but my country. All right. I'll tell you that his father was Benjamin Botts. He lived in Fredericksburg, Virginia for a time, at the very beginning of Princess Anne Street by the old Hazel Hill Mansion. But Benjamin Botts, he defended Aaron Burr in the famous treason trial. So, and then right next to him, his son has got a serious obelisk right here. And this would be Lieutenant Archibald B. Botts of the 4th U.S. Infantry. And he died Camargo, Mexico, and graduated the U.S. Military Academy, 1846. And his classmates erected this large monument. All right, I just jumped online. I couldn't find any exact information, but I can only assume that he died in the Mexican-American War, obviously 1847. But yeah, I've never seen the grave of someone who's died in the Mexican-American War. But I'm still on the hunt for John Marshall, and he's got one of the kind of tomb ledger style graves. It's going to be a little bit harder to find. It's not one of these large obelisks. So he is inside of a iron fence. And let me walk up here. I see a couple fences. Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, again, great. They have these arrows. Chief Justice John Marshall. All right, so that must be it right there. I see the fence. Okay, cool. Okay, here we go. John Marshall, Chief Justice, 4th Chief Justice, probably the most influential. Nice wrought iron fence. And Fisher, and it's one of these two. All right, so this is a Revolutionary War soldier, Mary Willis Amber. Soldier? Oh, wife of Revolutionary soldier, Mary Willis Ambler. All right, so John Marshall, here he is. Yeah, John Marshall, son of Thomas and Mary Marshall. Born September 1755. And he departed this life July of 1835. He was born out there in Fauquier County, Germantown. And he has a house here in Richmond you can visit. It's over off Clay Street. And it's not far from the Valentine Museum, not far from the Richmond Coliseum. And another plaque here, the Daughters of the American Revolution. Placed by the William Byrd chapter. Oh, somebody left a little stone with writing on it. Oh, what is this down here? Society of the American Revolution. National Society of the American Revolution. I don't think I've seen one of those symbols. Oh, all right, so old Betsy Ross flag. Pretty cool. Again, our most famous Supreme Court Chief Justice. He's famous for presiding over the Marbury-Madison case. And it's the first time the Supreme Court had struck down an act of Congress, deeming it unconstitutional. And it set the precedent for judicial review. And it staked out the courts as a branch of government that was equal and independent to Congress and the executive branch. So, and if you're ever out there in Warrenton, out there in Fauquier County, there's a really good statue of him out in front of the courthouse. Okay, guys, Please do not bring dogs onto the cemetery grounds. And over here, probably just a map of the grounds. Oh, more information. Confederate General Patrick T. Moore, buried here at SHOCKOE Hill. Oh, so this is the almshouse and cemetery. Okay, cool. Again, I can show you a better shot of it. Yeah, General Hospital number 1, the almshouse. Very large building for its time. You don't normally see buildings this size that were around in the 1860s. Also served as a poorhouse. A lot of rooms in there. There's a Hebrew cemetery on the other side. And I'm wondering, this wall, I'm sure obviously it looks like it's original. Oh good, I think I found it, tucked way back here. Johnson Jones Hooper. And yeah, I knew it had a wall behind it with with kind of a distinct tree. Yeah, Johnson Jones Hooper of Alabama, June 9th, 1815, died July 7th, 1862. Author, editor, lawyer, and a humorist. And he's famous for creating the character of Simon Suggs, and he served as inspiration to Mark Twain. And I believe Tom Sawyer is going to kind of be based off of him. They're both kind of mischievous type characters. And yeah, he was Secretary of Provisional Congress of the Confederate States of America. And that's why he moved up here to the capital of Richmond, and where he died of consumption in 1862 is what it was, died of tuberculosis. And erected by his friends in December of 1950. Over here, I see the Iron Cross. And who is this guy? And this is Thomas Elliott Grundy. He's from Baltimore. He died in Ashland. 1st Company Virginia Howitzers. Oh, so planting a little garden right here for, obviously this looks like a child died. I can't make out the name or the dates. William R. Ratcliffe died during the war. Yeah, so he would have been 23. Okay. Over here, a couple children's graves. Again, okay, well, Peter Joseph. Can't make out the date, but Judith Watkins. Yeah. So maybe that was the thing at the time. You kind of plant a little garden on top of the child graves. Let me see what this says over here. And this is Claudius Crozet, or Crozet. Soldier, scholar, educator, engineer. Oh, died January 29th, 1864 in Midlothian. So was he in the Peter? Oh, he was born in France. Had to look him up. Yeah, he was involved in the Napoleonic Wars, captain of artillery, and was imprisoned in Russia for 2 years following the Moscow campaign. Wow, traveled to the United States in 1816 with a recommendation of Marquis de Lafayette. Okay, wow. Professor of engineering, the United States Military Academy, president of the Virginia Military Institute 1839 to 1845, directed the building of the first railroad over the Blue Ridge. Wow, this guy's got quite a career. Just says he died in 1864, it doesn't say how. It's saying that his body was reinterred to the grounds of VMI in front of the Preston Library. So maybe this isn't really a headstone, it's just kind of a little plaque commemorating him. Very interesting. On the tree over here, it says the John Marshall section. All right, so well, there's a Confederate grave right there. But I'm on the hunt for John Mercer Patton, and his tombstone is supposed to just say Patton real big across the front. And this is American Revolution over here. War of 1812. 1775 at the bottom. And over here, again, War of 1812. And the SHOCKOE Hill Cemetery. Boy, helicopter going overhead. All right. SHOCKOE Hill Cemetery, Revolutionary War, and the War of 1812. Monument is dedicated to the memory of more than 27 patriots of the American Revolution and 400 veterans of the War of 1812. Wow, that's a lot. Okay. It was dedicated in 2011. In this vicinity are buried 220 Confederate soldiers, 577 Union soldiers that are recorded, as well as hundreds of other soldiers of whose burial no record was made. And then over here, check out this flag. Nearby are buried at least 661 United States soldiers who died between July 61 and June of 63. Okay, right before Gettysburg. And while prisoners of war in the city, many died at Confederate General Hospital No. 1, adjacent to SHOCKOE Hill Cemetery. Oh. Anyway, SHOCKOE Hill Cemetery, which took in the Union wounded from 1st Manassas in other engagements. All right, so yeah, okay, it says most are anonymous, but the names of 88 of the dead are listed below as they appear in cemetery records. Under this magnolia here, let's see, Mary McCarthy, born over there in Cork, Ireland. Simon Steinlein. Okay, died right before the Civil War. This caught my eye right here. Two from the Page family. In the Pages, they were a big Virginia First family. Man Page owned the Rosewell Plantation out there in Gloucester County. The Wickham family plot over here. Tall obelisk is for John Wickham. He owned the Wickham House over there off Clay Street. It's where the Valentine Museum now sits. I've got a video on the house if you want to check it out. To tell you a little bit about him, he was born up there in New York. Went over to France to study at their military academy. Then moved here to Richmond, became one of the city's premier attorneys. And he's associated with legal cases that involve John Marshall and Patrick Henry. And he worked with the Benjamin Botts on Aaron Burr's treason trial. Okay. So, all right, a little information on John Wickham. Can't make that out too well, but interesting connection. His granddaughter, Charlotte Georgiana Wickham Lee, was the wife of Fitzhugh Lee, or nicknamed Rooney Lee, the son of Robert E. Lee. So Robert E. Lee's daughter-in-law. Oh yeah, it says it on the bottom. And yeah, all right, so crazy connection. And Rooney's buried along with his father, Robert E. Lee, out there in Lexington at that chapel at the Washington and Lee grounds. Boy, that helicopter is making its rounds. I don't know what's going on. But yeah, it's just kind of odd they're not buried together. Charlotte Carter Lee died 1862, infant, only 7 weeks old. Yeah, all right, so their child right there. Robert E. Lee III, born 1860. He died 1862. Wow, first grandchild. Angel in Mourning. And pretty nice statue. And I'm gonna check this one out over here. Mizpeth. And that's pretty cool. Oh, died in Florence, Italy. Yeah. Pretty cool wings on the back. Parson John D. Blair. He must be somebody. I'll stick him in my video. To the memory of the Reverend John D. Blair, first pastor of the Presbyterian Church on SHOCKOE Hill. Died January 1823. Age 64 years, 2 months. Ms. Jane S. Stannard. Here she is with the urn on top. And she was Poe's first important female friend. She was the mother of a classmate named Robert Stannard. And Poe's Helen. Miss Stannard always lent a sympathetic and kind ear to the 14-year-old Edgar. Yeah, he probably had the hots for her. Next door would be her son, like I say, Poe's friend, Robert Stannard. And this must be maybe the husband, born 1781. I'm not sure, so maybe this is him. But went on to be a judge, and he had lent Edgar Allan Poe $200 one time so he could furnish his home. Cool little Corinthian columns right there. Caught my eye right here. Again, veteran of the Mexican War, Captain 8th U.S. Infantry, and yeah, a couple children back here who died prematurely, 1893 to 1896, and can't make out the one to the left. Okay. Might have found it. I see the fluted obelisk with a Virginia flag out front, which matches the picture of his father, at least. And I'm talking about the John Mercer Patton. And yeah, it's kind of a military section, it looks like. So, what is this? Honor of the Patriots of the American Revolution. Oh yeah, all right. Sons of the American Revolution. Let me see. Yeah. John Mercer Patton, his father, born in Fredericksburg, 1797, died here in Richmond. Nice fluted column right there with some books on top. I'm sure they're going to be medical books because his grandfather was Hugh Mercer, American war hero, American Revolutionary War hero, died at the Battle of Princeton. He also fought in Culloden out there, the Jacobite Wars out there in Scotland. That's pretty crazy. Okay, John Mercer Patton, he was a congressman, Virginia provisional governor, grandson of Revolutionary War hero Hugh Mercer, and he served as a private in the 19th Regiment of Virginia Militia in the War of 1812. He graduated from the medical department of the University of Pennsylvania in 1818. Wow, okay, and he practiced law up there in Fredericksburg. Okay, Philip Slaughter, soldier of the American Revolution, captain in the 8th Continental Regiment. His son over here, this would be Colonel James Mercer Patton Jr., and born up there in Culpeper, died in Ashland, Virginia, not too far from here. He was a lawyer, judge, and colonel of the 21st Virginia Infantry Regiment. Oh, all right, so down here, Colonel John Mercer Patton, again, 21st Virginia Infantry, 1861 to 62, placed by the Friends of the SHC and Order of the Southern Cross. Oh, one more thing I'll throw in. He's the grandfather of George S. Patton of World War II fame. Oh, crazy. Yeah, that's right, I'd forgotten. And so John Mercer Patton Sr. would be George S. Patton's great-grandfather. Pretty cool. Down here, Captain Asa Reynolds Smith, Company D, 41st Virginia Infantry, died, okay. Died July of 62, so perhaps died in battle. Pretty neat design over here on the fence. Angel with its wings. Or an acorn. Nah, I can tell it's a face. John P. Samuel, Company E, 30th Virginia Infantry. Okay, so he died in May of 64. Would that be Spotsylvania Courthouse? And it looks like we're gonna have Governor Cabell over here. Here we are, William H. Cabell. We've got the Virginia flag up front, but yeah, 14th Virginia Governor. Pretty neat urn on top. You've got the bellflower garland draped over it, and a cloth on top of the grave. And that normally symbolizes that you're leaving your earthly possessions for the afterlife. But he attended Hampton-Sydney, and that is all the information I have on him. I don't think he had any military or he wasn't involved in any wars or anything, but Governor of Virginia, 1805 until 1808. And there you go. And his family has some pretty nice headstones. And you got kind of the scroll style kind of hanging off this obelisk. And it's pretty neat right here. Sally Marshall, wife of J.C. Cabell. Caught my eye back here. Again, that helicopter, it's just doing circles. Captain James K. Lee, son of Hancock Lee and Mary Henderson, mortally wounded at Bull Run. And, you know, I'm wondering, is he related to Robert E. Lee? But I think there would be some mention of that. So a cross made of logs on top of a boulder. Interesting, just wanted to show that off. And this one's got a bullet hole in it. Oh, and down here it's got that Knights of the Temple cross. Latin cross going through the crown. Okay, cool. Spots. Another metal one over here. Matthews County, Colonel Thomas Hudgens. A couple more child graves, and that one's broken. But we've got another governor to find. And I looked the picture up in behind his obelisk on Find a Grave. You could see those apartments in the giant brick building. So it's gonna be in this area. Okay, a couple Confederate crosses. Dio Vindici. And we've got Timothy Purcell and Eliza M.J. Mull. Died 24 years old. I was gonna say she wouldn't have died in the war, but 1863. Oh, all right, maybe mother over here, Mary Purcell, born in Dublin, Ireland. Okay. Oscar Marshall, 3rd Confederate Infantry. William Mason McCarty is gonna be somewhere over here. And actually, he's got a kind of flat style. He's gonna be next to it, next to an obelisk, it looks like. Oh, okay, this is gonna be it right here, perfect. Thomas, I see the obelisk. All right. Yeah, William Mason McCarty. And should be kind of right to the left of it. Perfect. Here he is, William Mason McCarty. He was a governor down in the Florida Territory, 1827. 1845, I believe, is when Florida became a state. So he was a Virginia senator before going down there to Florida. And when he returned to Virginia, he became senator again. Boy, this one totally got knocked over. These are in rough shape, this section right here. So you wonder if a big storm kind of blew through here. All right, I found just about everybody on the list. I think I did a pretty good job. The cemetery wasn't quite as big as I thought, thankfully. But yeah, I'm gonna hit the road as always, guys. Like and subscribe. See you on the next one.